Sir, I'm going to need you to come out here for a second.
Oh, heidi ho, officer. Me have doozy of day.
Yeah, we've had some cavers in the area that have gotten lost. Have you seen anything?
Okay, I tell you, just minding business in cave and making improvements on vacation cave. Group of women come in and started killing themselves.
Is that right, Mr.
Caveman. It's Captain Caveman. Heard them arguing and screaming in my study. Standing next to her for like 5 minutes. I swear to the sun serpent that I was just standing there. They were looking at camera, and I was trying to help them figure out what was going on. They turned the camera on me and ran off like a bunch of idiots. That's a good way to get a twisted ankle, running into darkness like that. Well, this one, she runs straight down my toilet shaft, like a moron.
So, you expect me to believe these women came into your cave to kill themselves?
Hey, I get it, officer. I wouldn't believe me neither. I saw one stick an axe through another one's throat. Then a different woman come along and smash same woman in face with rock. It really upset my young impressionable son, who tried to stop her, but then she attacked us.
Okay, I've heard enough. You need to come with me.
Officer, I swear to great burning serpent in the sky. That's what happened. Me innocent. Ouch. Those two tied. You can't do this. I'm Captain Caveman.
And welcome back to the Wicked Wild, which apparently for some reason now sounds like we were sponsored by National Public Radio and listeners like you.
That or Hanna-Barbera.
Oh my God.
So welcome back. We are coming off of Camp Wicked Wild. We're all kind of recovering after that. We want to thank all of our listeners and everybody who kind of followed us through the fun, spooky season festivities. But we are off to the races with another movie that a lot of us love. I assume we might have some controversy on this one. At least we're hoping for some. But before we get into all that, let's get into introducing our hosts. And first, we're going to start in Manhattan, New York, New York. The city's so nice they named it twice. Jaime, how's it going up there?
It's going pretty good.
Good. Are you? I know this is a rough time of year for you because you've just come off of like the peak spooky season. And I know it's spooky season for you all the time, but then you've got all of us weirdos that want to start talking holidays, and I know you're not up for it.
No, I'm not into the Christmas excitement. I don't like the music. I don't like the decorations.
All the people come into your city.
Oh my God.
That's the worst. Thank God I'm not in the office anymore because, like, for those that don't know, I'm in 30 Rock, which is where they put the tree, that giant tree that everybody in the United States comes to see. What?
Hold on. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt. Jaime, are you and I going to agree on something here?
Christmas?
You both hate Christmas?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Eli, we found
tragic
it.
occasion.
We found it.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about this.
So Eli,
Well, Dave, I think you can just shut the doors now.
I was going to say, Eli up in Pittsburgh. So you're not a holiday guy either? Couple of humbugs on my show.
Listen, Christmas is dumb. Thanksgiving is stupid. Halloween's cool. I like Halloween. The rest of them are all dumb.
I just want to say, like, it's not, well, here's the thing. I love getting together with my family. Like, I'm from a big family by association. It's just me and my sister and but I've always been close with cousins that a lot of people aren't, like second, and it's an Italian thing. So my holidays were always huge. I love like holidays, but the shit and like people getting ready for Christmas in the fucking summer, like it drives me. There's nothing about Christmas that like, I hate that. Like the music drives me insane. It's like everything.
Listen, Mary is all Halloween up until midnight, and it goes to November 1st. And like, I swear to God, I blink, and like, there's just Christmas everywhere. And I'm like, what about November?
Good for you, Mary. Good for you.
She's like, it's all the
no.
same.
That's the right order.
And she says, I have to like Christmas. I'm like, okay.
So, John, do you hate Christmas too? Is this 3 for 3?
I like Christmas in its place. Christmas begins on December 1st and goes to December 25th. There is no other day that belongs to Christmas except the month of December for 25 days. Everything else is not Christmas. So Christmas in July, get out of here.
Good Lord. I found myself on the island of broken toys here.
No, I enjoy Christmas, but there's a place for it. And it's literally, you can put up your tree at Thanksgiving, that's fine. Like last week in November, that's cool.
No, the tree doesn't go up till December hits. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That should be a hard set rule.
I don't disagree with Jamie, but it's one of the things I will secede that 1 week to give you to put up the tree if you want. However, if you put up Christmas decorations in the store, if you play Christmas music 1 day before December hits, dude, you're out.
Well, I guarantee you live your life angry in November then, because that's exactly what happens.
I do, because that's Thanksgiving month. That's my birthday month. And get out of here.
Oh, so it's personal for you. I see.
I feel personally attacked by Christmas every year.
So what's November like in Chicago, Michigan?
Well, in Chicago, Michigan, the city that doesn't exist, it's a magical, wonderful winter wonderland where Mary gets to come celebrate Christmas 364 days out of the year. Because
every day but Christmas.
Correct. But no, in the Detroit metro area, November is nice, but we have a lot of Christmas freaks here, and I'm not a fan of that. But the good news is counterbalance that we have a lot of Halloween freaks. So we get both ends of the spectrum. So I can't wait to be that obnoxious guy in the neighborhood where I have Halloween decorations up all year round. But I'm sure I'll get some notices from the HOA. But
hey, you take the good, you take the bad.
Oh my God.
You take it all, and then you had. It's the facts of life, man.
The facts of life.
Can't believe you did that.
For those,
I love it.
You're welcome, and you're welcome, Eli. Merry Christmas.
Oh God.
Oh man, I can't. You know what? I'm on Team Dave. If we're gonna get that reaction out of Eli, I'm on Team Christmas now. Merry Christmas, Eli.
Yay! We are going to finish this episode with a few Christmas carols. Just to strike things off. Now that we're past spooky season,
I will fart directly into my mic the whole time.
Well,
all right.
Well, you're the one who has to speak into it. I don't know if that's a threat against us.
Hey, listen.
Give yourself pink eye. What do we care?
Well, first off, it'd probably be pink mouth because my mouth is on my. Worth it. Worth every darn toot.
Is this where Campfire Tales invades the main show?
It happens a little bit every week.
Yeah, it's a bleed over kind of situation. So anyway, we are here to actually review a movie, and that movie is The Descent. And before we get popping, we are going to do a quick on-the-fly synopsis, and I'm going to ask Eli what his favorite holiday is, other than Halloween.
I have to pick one other holiday I like besides Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a good one.
He's gonna pick some random.
Yeah, it's going to be some obscure, folksy.
What?
It's Corncob Day or something.
Just pick your random holiday.
Okay, first off, that's hurtful.
Yes.
That's hurtful.
I think they intended it to be. So yeah, continue.
Secondly, if I had to pick one, it would be July 4th. Because I can sit there and watch Jaws as they play it over and over and over again.
Well, that's a good reason. I like the logic there. It's solid. And obviously that leads us to who's going to do our on-fly synopsis. It'll have to be Jaime. So.
Okay. This is a pretty easy one for an on-fly synopsis, I think. Our lead character suffers a traumatic event in her life. About a year later, her friends decide to take her on a adventurous, I don't know, is that spelunking? What is spelunking? They're cave diving. I don't know. Because they're all, first, Jesus, these women are the most athletic and like strong women I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know how they all found each other. But anyway, they seem to be, like you see earlier, they seem to be an adventurous group. They were like whitewater rafting. They like to do these things. So they're going cave diving, whatever it's called. not much to say except that things take a turn. Things don't go as they planned on many levels. We can get there trapped and lost and things maybe in there. And it just really just goes from there. It's just a tale of these women trying to get out of a cave. But it's way more interesting than that sounds. But I didn't want to get into it because we will. Yeah, it's a survival of the fittest, if you will.
Absolutely. And on that note, we will hop on to giving each of our hosts the opportunity to give sort of their overall impressions, their summary thoughts when you first saw it. What did you think of it? What do you think of it now? And I'll start with Eli.
Ooh, you know what?
The Christmas baby.
You son of a bitch. The Descent. Oh, The Descent. I tell you what, when this movie, before this came out, or around the time this came out, I was one of those people that went to the grocery store every week to get my issue of Fangoria. And Fangoria did an article on it. And that was the first I heard of it. And I thought it looked interesting. So I'm also going to date myself because then when it came out on DVD, I went onto my Netflix account, which at the time they mailed you your movies and put this on my list to be mailed to me.
Sweet.
And when I got it and watched it, and I knew very little about it, just what the article said, and I love this movie. I like it a lot. I think it's got this really claustrophobic feeling, almost at times kind of reminiscent of Alien for me, that I really enjoy. I like the characters and kind of their interactions. I kind of like the metamorphosis, like the main character. She kind of starts out as like she had this tragic event where she witnessed the death of her husband and daughter, and then like she kind of has these like panic attacks and stuff, and like when they're starting the cave, and then like she's kind of forced to this spot where you think like she's the weakest, she's gonna die, and like she's like running around screaming and stuff, but then like it kind of like her lizard brain takes over, and you like read stories of people who get stuck out in the wild where they're like, I don't know how I survived or exactly what I did, but like at one point I wasn't in control anymore. Like this lizard brain took over, and like you kind of see this with her where like that survival instinct fully kicks in, and like
one would say she descended into madness.
Oh, how dare you! And then, like, so that, like, I really enjoy that, like, that whole arc. I really like the creatures in this because they, as we all know, I am a man who enjoys my lores, legends, and myths. And you don't like, they look like goblins, and like in my mind, that's what they were like a goblin creature, like a kind of like a modern take on goblin like creatures, and like. You really don't see goblins except for a couple times in the 80s in atrocious ways. You don't see goblins too much show up in like horror. And like if you look at some like the tales and like legends of lores around goblins, like they were terrifying. Like people were terrified of them. And like it was kind of cool seeing like this like kind of serious approaches like cave goblins. I love this movie. I every time it comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll sit down and watch this. Okay, yeah, sure, all right. It had the effects look good, the gore looked good, the environment looked good. The cabin they're staying in before they go in the cave. I'm like, oh man, I'd live in that cabin. The characters, like they do a really good job bringing the characters, like Juno, this ass clown you're supposed to hate, you hate her. Like they they don't go over the top like Snidely Whiplash to make her hate. Like it's it just the kind of relationships and like the way the characters are fleshed out is just natural. Like you just like naturally come to hate her. And even though like they try to make her look kind of like that survival instinct take over too, but you're like, no, she's an ass.
Right.
And like but I love this movie. I love it so much. Like this was a horror movie that during the time of what I call the great shitty ghost era of horror, they did something different. And to me it paid off and it worked out. I like it a lot.
Yeah, they swung for the fences and they actually connected on this one.
Yeah, very well.
All right, so we'll hand off to John. Before I do, though, I want to give everybody sort of a heads up that our boy John is actually working remote. He is on vacation this week, and he loves his peoples so much that he's got his iPad out and he's recording with us. So we're going to try and fix as much in post, but you'll probably hear him not having his full-on sweet, sultry, dulcet tones today. But we're gonna work with him on it.
I appreciate that intro, Dave, so you can all hear the terrible sound. But look, I'll be honest. I mean, the audience is great, but I prefer you guys over them. Let's be honest. So
It's just for
I
us.
couldn't miss a week without seeing everyone's smiling faces. More particularly, Eli's crying face as I claim Team Juno.
Oh, you're the worst. The
Oh,
worst.
I can't even do that with a straight face.
Listen,
Like
you can't.
She is the worst. She's
Listen,
the worst. Like,
don't you dare come and say you like Juno when you're talking from a 7-Eleven bathroom, sir.
hey, you know what? Very lucky people get to talk from a 7-Eleven bathroom. I'll have you know. Hey, man, 7-Eleven, they apparently have the real Homer Simpson donut.
I don't believe it.
Matt showed me the way. Not that everyone knows Matt, but that's a shout out for Matt. Matt showed me the Homer Simpson donut, and it's real. I thought it was fake, but it's real. But anyways, no, I like this movie. This movie's good. I've seen this movie so many times. I mean, watching it, I literally can just like look down and pretty much do like a full paper on like another subject while I'm watching it and know all the beats it's gonna hit. But there were still moments where it made my skin crawl. Great monsters. I'm not going to try to make out with goblins like Eli did, because I know that's like a Lord of the Rings type connection for him, so it's extra special. But they were definitely very cool. Those eyeball contacts they got there, ugh, skin crawl. Very, very great horror. The scene where she goes in the like blood pond and then she comes out from it, that's iconic. It's a great movie moment that's captured forever. The only thing that I will say is I watched this morning super early. I was like, you know what has Neil Marshall been up to? And I looked at the past couple movies. Like, apparently he's got one coming out this year. Well, we'll all get to see it eventually. It's been doing the film festivals, but everybody says he just basically recycled this movie with his Dog Soldiers movie and put them together, and that's what this new movie is this year. So that could be very good. I don't know. We'll find out. But I've not seen Dog Soldiers, but this movie's great. But the movies he's done after this have kind of been like a little bit disappointing. But this one's great. It's a classic. The only thing that's a little bit of a disconnect for me, and I don't know why I didn't notice sooner, but the whole like English and Scottish accent thing, while they're in Appalachia, is kind of strange. Like, we're at like a 90% like foreign accent, but in the heart of America, it's rather particular.
Well, and even
Eli,
in the movie, they reference that they are from Scotland. And that they come here, and I think Juno's the only American, which is a point worth making. But John, I'm surprised you didn't even mention this movie features like one of your favorite things, and that's a big old compound fractured leg.
Oh God! I mean, I know this is an adult podcast.
I thought about you,
dude. I almost like reactionary told you to F off, because there's nothing more cringy. That is worse than any jump scare. I literally
they worked that one. They worked.
I can't look at it. I don't know if you're sharing.
Hey John,
this video.
remember how good the noise was when it broke? Oh,
it's almost as good as when I'm going to snap your fucking. However, no, I can't, like, I cannot even look at the screen when any movies, when it goes to skin, no, because that's not supposed to happen. 1, 2, it's disgusting, and 3, I can watch somebody get chainsawed in half. I literally sat while I was working at work and texting with Jaime, watching Terrifier for the first time, and I didn't even flinch. I was just like, man, that's an awesome scene. This woman literally gets chainsawed in half, but a compound fracture makes my skin crawl, and I'm like, I want to throw the damn TV out the window. It's disgusting. Well,
since we discovered that on the crawl episode, I think of you every time I see a good one now.
I was going to say, Dave, and the fact that you remember that, I appreciate your love for me. You clearly pay attention.
I store dangerous information. That's what I do. That's how
you got none on me, guy.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see about that.
You gotta get up pretty early in the morning to get one over on old Eli.
Challenge accepted. All right, Jaime. Share your overall thoughts on this one.
It's funny, I wrote down similar to what Eli said, dating himself. I also rented this and it was not streaming nor on. I mean, maybe it was Netflix DVD, but I don't think it was, because I feel like we got it like we decided to watch it and got it, so we went somewhere or maybe someone loaned it to us, but it was on DVD. And I loved it, but I want to make a point that the reason I loved it is because of the version I saw, and nobody else has touched on that yet, but I will. And it's because the ending, you could see two different it's not even different. It ends shorter in the US version than it does in the UK version. And I saw the UK version. I own it. So when I rewatched it today, it's also the UK version. So it's really the version I had seen, I loved. I didn't know there was another version until I got in a fight with my friend about this movie when he said it's trash. And I said, what are you talking about? Like, as a horror movie, like, it's actually great. And we will get into this. And, I was like, there's just nothing. I also want to say, like, this is not like a pleasant movie. Like, you don't really put this on and have a good time. I want to say a rough watch, but I don't mean rough as in like you got like people sit down and have a hard time. It's just like, it's sad at moments. It's just like a hard time. Like it doesn't go great, and we can get to that. But it's a good movie. It's effective in what it does. It's a good horror movie. A lot of the reasons people have brought up, I don't need to, So the point is, I had a fight with someone over why this is a great movie. And then he said that ending is such shit. Like, and it feels like such a tacked on, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you want me? I mean, I can get into it. I was like, well, what are you talking about? I was like, it's the most realistic ending to a movie like this you could possibly have. Like, would you want them to get out or something like that? And he goes, they did, or something like that. And I go, what the fuck movie did you watch? I was like, did you not see the end where she's like hallucinating and she sees her daughter and she's like basically, sorry everybody, but like basically still trapped and there's like no getting out and that's it. And he's like, what did you watch? So basically, like, that's how I found out that there's two endings to this movie. Luckily, I have always seen it with what I call the correct, it's hard to say bad or good ending because people would call it the bad ending as far as context, but I call it the good ending as far as,
story quality,
like getting out with what's going on in this does not fit this. It doesn't even fit this movie in tone, to be honest. Like, you got people accidentally killing their friends. You have people, there's the cheating subplot. I want to talk about that because I think it's completely unnecessary, even as a catalyst. Like, I think it's completely unnecessary. And it just, to me, I guess watching it is like, and we all know me, I'm not this way, but like, really, do we need two women fighting over men at the end of this? Like, kind of in a way, like over a man, like that's so fucking stupid. And it's just like unnecessary. Luckily, they don't get really, really into it. And I think it's just the catalyst for her madness. Like I said earlier, like, I think it's just that tipping point, but we could have probably used anything else rather than like, and what kind of friend is that? We will get into this because I have a big stance of cheating, but like, I thought they were like really close, and it's like you're sleeping with your friend's husband is kind of fucked up. There's like a million people in the world. Anyway, so the point being is for this movie to have a happy ending to me doesn't fit. So I'm glad I never saw the happy ending that leads to a very shitty sequel. I did see the ending that I saw that I've always watched, and I watched today. I honestly haven't watched this in a long time. Like I own it, I love it, but it's one of those I put away for a while, and like I know it pretty well. So, but watching it today, like reappreciate it all over again, and it still holds up. And we can get into, like I said, specific points and plot points and things. Like, my only negatives on this movie are it hits that point where it's too dark. I hate to sound like that person, but I had to turn every single light down. And even then it was like daylight out. So like natural light coming in was still like, once they hit that peak point with like the monsters and the caves, like it gets so fucking dark that there are moments, no matter how many times I watch this, I'm not sure which woman we're looking at, and I'm not sure what, I mean, like I pretty much do, but, it's a minor thing, but like the cheating subplot is kind of a silly, but I'm not going to knock it. I just think it's like unnecessary and we could like touch on it, but otherwise like.
Well, Jamie,
overall, yeah, what?
Just like a July thunderstorm, as soon as it comes, it goes. We agreed on the holiday, and now you and I have come to a headway.
We will, but I don't know how. I think you're the only person who prefers the quote unquote happy ending to this movie. Like, it's not warranted. It's stupid.
I don't think it's a happy ending.
It is a happy ending because it goes on to a sequel. No. Like, she gets out, she survives, and she has to live with it.
If you don't,
I don't give a shit.
Sequel,
she has to live with it.
If you don't count the sequel. I like.
Oh, we could discuss it. I just think it's very unrealistic and silly with everything that all of a sudden it's like after and it's one of those endings that I hate that when movies do it, which I mean, this movie did whatever, and we'll get to it like more, but like when movies do that after everything people go through, and it's like that moment of light, like right after, it pisses me off. It's like, we went through all this, surprise, we lived, but everybody else died and I got out. It's just like I don't know, cheap. It's cheap to me of an ending of a movie. But anyway.
Wow. I can't believe Eli just dropped that bomb like right after Jaime just, shared the truth.
I have my reasons, and I think they are valid.
Well, they spent millions of dollars for both endings. I think they're both valid.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
See, I can live in this world. The water is fine, folks.
Thank you, Dave.
So this is one that I didn't see in theaters, but I absolutely do remember the marketing. They had a heavy marketing push for this movie. And when I saw the marketing for it and saw that it was a cave movie, it looked like it was a jump scary kind of cheap movie. It was reminding me a lot of some of the stuff that was going on in the mid 2000s. It didn't seem that was interesting. And what really turned me off was that it was set in a cave. And I've never seen a good cave movie. I've never seen them done to where it didn't look like something out of Star Trek, where it's smooth walls and perfect lighting and all that stuff. Well, the problem is I grew up, and we have and you all know this, but the audience doesn't. I grew up with a huge cave on our property, and every weekend me and my cousins were down there in the cave. So it was sort of this childhood memory. It was part of my childhood, living in caves, or not living in caves, but going down and camping in caves and all that kind of stuff. And they are creepy, and they're one of the best places to tell ghost stories and all that, because they're just intrinsically, organically creepy places to be. And to your point, Jaime, one of the things I like about this movie is the lighting, because it feels very organic the way it's lit. But anyway, didn't see it in theaters. It looped around. I finally did pick it up on DVD. I can't remember if it was a Netflix mail-in or if it was when I could still get my hands on a local copy at a rental place. But anyway, I was so surprised and impressed with this movie when I saw it. It is kind of what I expected as far as on the jump scare side. It is very jump scary, as all those movies in the mid-aughts were. That was sort of what they were. That was the mechanics of the horror movies they were putting out at the time. But I loved the design and I loved the lighting. And at this point, you all know very well that Dave is a huge fan of a one location, small cast, tight little story. Those are, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that there's not a better way to tell a great horror story. Keep it simple, have a cast of competent actors, tell a really clean story, and keep them all in one place and keep the pressure on them. Well, this is exactly what this movie is. It's like The Thing, it's like Alien, it's like all of those movies that I love. Now, are those all at different levels? Sure. But the formula is the same, and I thought this one was fantastic. And it was the first time I had seen it so well crafted with an all-female cast. I'd just never seen that done, probably to my own fault of not looking up more of those kind of movies. But this was the first, commercial movie that was an all-female cast, that they were not damsels in distress, to your point, Jaime. They were all fully competent, fully capable, and were doing all of these things just as friends, just for fun. I thought they were very believable. Even when they were annoying, it was a believable kind of annoying. It wasn't somebody has written this person to make me hate them so that they can kill them. Now that's absolutely what they were doing with Juno, but I didn't get the sense of that person exists. I know that person. So the fact that I hate them is legitimate because of who they are. The person that gets up first thing in the morning and goes at 5 o'clock and jogs and comes in stressed. Get up, sleepyheads. It's time to get up and get at them. I'm going to put your head in the toilet if you don't want to.
Dave, does that person actually do that stretch right in front of you, like slowly, and try to get her like protege to do it and then fall over? Does that happen?
To laugh at him? Not to me, but that's because
Okay.
I'm the roll over, go back to sleep kind of guy. So.
Gotcha.
Being a night owl, I wouldn't have stayed up long enough to have experienced that part of it. But no, they were all very believable, and even beyond them as human beings being very believable, their inner dynamics, their relationship dynamics seemed very believable. Everybody sort of had their role within the friend group, and we kind of talked about this on the Ritual episode. That's so critical for these tight little stories, is that you have to believe their dynamics and kind of what they're doing if you're going to care for them. So that's my overall. As far as, like I said, as far as a cave movie, this is still probably one of the best executed cave movies because it feels like a real cave. You know, when they're using the flares, everything's bleached in red. As you know, if you've been in a cave, the light you're using does impact incredibly. Like if you're using those chem lights, which they do in this for a little while, the yellow green lights, everything just looks weird. It looks like you're in a night vision thing. And you have reflections, and it was really cool in the first part of this where they are talking and they're moving down, and then she hears something behind them. Well, that's the way caves work. Everything's echoing and bouncing from 3 different directions. So if you're at the back of a pack of people in a cave, you would swear in court that there are people behind you talking, because all the noise you hear is coming from behind you. So it's very disorienting. So anyway, that's my overall thoughts. I do have a couple of questions, but I do want to jump over. John, I saw you reacting big to the talk about the ending. So let's just get that out.
Oh. Okay, so first time, this is a mild confession time. First time I saw the preferred Eli version. And as I met these lovely people here, Jamie showed me the way, and she said, "Have you seen the real ending?" I was like, "What's the real ending?" And then I watched the quote unquote real ending, and I was like, "Wow, that movie is like 1,000 times better with the real ending."
Period. Why do you think we prefer the bleak ending? And Jamie got into some of this, but why do you all think, for the most part, and it's 3 of 4. I'm preferential towards the UK European ending, and that's the way they tell stories over there. So.
Yeah, and I thought about it today, Dave. To be fair, and to Eli's point, like I thought about it, like as I'm getting older, like do I want a happy ending in my, but and I don't mean to hijack John's if he was still going. Like I just think it's the more realistic, and I also think a lot of this movie is emotional. And I don't find the US ending. And the only reason I call it real, honestly, is because that's what comes on the DVD. Like I can't watch the US version, I guess, unless I bought it. What I bought was the quote unquote unrated version. And when I watched it today, there's no option to watch it stopping at the US. So because it's important to note that like the US ending just basically ends earlier. Right. I think it's the exact same thing. It just isn't a hallucination. Whereas in the UK version is presented as a hallucination and she's still down there. That's it. Like it's not like a major. Right? I mean,
yeah, well, even in the US version, there is a cut back to her eyes opening in the darkness. So they leave just enough of that in there to.
I only remember her. Okay. Sorry. I only remember her like.
Yeah, she has the hallucination in the car of Juno. Yeah, and then there's one frame of her eyes opening in the dark.
Okay. So, I mean, I always took it as though like she's out. And then like everybody said, let's take away the sequel. But they did make a sequel implying that she lived. So like that's. Going off the US version. Yeah, it's so
what?
So anyway, yeah, it's exactly. Very silly. Anyway, my whole thing was that it just felt more realistic and more authentic to the movie that I was presented, which is a fairly emotional movie. It's not, like I said, it's like it's all sorts of fucked up in that kind of way. It's not a feel good, like let's all, so that ending just feels like on par with what I've been watching. And I did think about it today. Like I tried to think like, would I want her, everything she's gone through, or and let's take away maybe having to live with another traumatic event, and let's take out that I've seen the fucking sequel and I hate it, and all that stuff. But I still prefer the UK ending. It just feels tighter and more fit for what I've been watching for the past.
It does feel more complete to me too. And I'll say this to the point of why I prefer that one is, I think you're exactly right, Jamie. Everything that has led us up through that, everything that Sarah's gone through up to that point has deconstructed her as a human being. Like she has fully devolved as a human being to where at the end she's nonverbal. I mean, she has kind of stripped away everything that makes her entire personality. And then to say that she gets out and recovers in some way, that seems very unrealistic. I am much more okay with her being so gone mentally that she's creating this kind of hypnosis or a concept for herself, just to
I mean,
at the end of her life.
Yeah, at the end of her life, she's with her daughter. And that's like a much more impactful ending to me than her getting out and living. Like her last vision is like her daughter's birthday cake, right? And like she's been seeing it throughout and whatever. And it's like that's what she sees as she is like descending, because she's not dead yet, but she will, for all intents and purposes, will be. How that happens is, neither here nor there. She's like, in a way, let go in all aspects, her mind. And I want to talk about that too with like her and Juno, but like in her mind, probably physically at this point, like she's kind of done. And her ending is, to be with the one person she probably has wanted to be with this whole time.
Right.
And is still obviously processing, because nobody gets through that. I mean, I'm not speaking for her, but you know what I mean. It's her child.
All right, Eli, come on in. He's loosened up.
Wow.
Here we go.
Everybody just strap in here.
I mean, it's okay to be wrong.
Exactly.
Eli. It's fine.
Well, I was just about to say, listen, 95% of the people may disagree with me here, but I just want to let you 95% know you're 95% wrong. So, to me,
Wow.
So here, when I watched it, if you back in the day, kids, when a movie, it was like 3 months before it came out. When it came out theater, before it was like on DVD. I heard that there was an alternate ending, and on the DVD, the American version, you can watch the alternate ending, and I watched both. To me, the American version is bleaker.
Wait, I'm sorry, what's the American? I bought my DVD in America. Well, like, I don't understand. What DVD has the ending?
It's an alternate ending. Like, if you get the DVD with the ending where she gets out of the cave, and the menu.
Is it not the unrated version? That's what I'm asking, because like I own the unrated version. There was no other option. Okay,
I don't have the DVD. I watch it streaming now. But
got it.
To me, her getting out of the cave was a more depressing ending than with her being stuck in the cave. And also that ending, and my point, which I'll make here, is the ending where she gets out of the cave may be the closest to a modern Lovecraftian ending to a film than I've seen in a long time. Because so you get like when she starts, like in the movie, like when they go in the cave, she's already kind of a mentally and emotionally damaged and broken person from witnessing the death of her kid. Like she was in the car during this car accident with them when they get impaled by spikes from a truck, which holy shit. And so she's already like kind of mentally and emotionally broken because of that. So she gets in the cave and like she's portrayed as the weakest of all of them because like she's feeling claustrophobic and she's kind of nervous and like some stuff happens and like she's like running around and stuff. And then at some point, like it's almost like it's too much for her brain and her front brain shuts off and her lizard brain comes out. She becomes this it's pure survival. And you just watch her go through that and like when it leads up the part she drives that spike and like I know some people are like with the cheating thing, but to me like it gave a valid reason because like I think it gave it a valid reason why she would basically sacrifice Juno so she could escape the cave, because if they didn't have that, then it's just kind of shitty that she would do that, where at least now like she's survival mode and in pure emotional survival state. You betrayed me, fuck you, you're gonna be goblin meat so I can get out of the cave. And so like when she finally gets out of the cave, it almost becomes this Lovecrafting thing because the background doesn't match the focus. It's bright, shiny, sunny out, and then she comes out of the cave, and then that lizard brain recedes, and her front broken brain, which is now just almost beyond repair, comes out because she's barely holding it together. She's screaming and crying, trying to get out of that cave. She like gets out in the sun and she's like running through the woods. It's pure screaming, crying, like she's getting in the car, a truck drives by, she's like panicking, like she's like that to me is showing her descent into madness. And then when they cut to Juno in the car, like I'm not like, oh, that's a ghost or anything. That's showing that like because in a lot of Lovecraftian tales, when people would go mad, they may leave and survive, but their brain or their mind was always back there forever with that horror. And so when she saw that vision of Juno, I'm thinking, oh, she's still in the cave. Like she'll never leave the cave. It's almost, and then like when they cut to the eyes, it's not that she's in the cave. Like her mind, she'll forever mentally be in that cave. And to me, that was more depressing than her dealing with the trauma of her husband and daughter being killed. Because like you'll never be right, but like that's a lot. Someone could work on that and try to repair some of that. But now it's to the point where all of that was shattered, and now she's mentally in a worse state when she was in the beginning. Where in the other version where she like is hallucinating the cave and it implied that she doesn't escape, well, she's gonna die. Like that's it. Like peace, she's dead. Like that's fine. And now, but in the other version, she now suffers. Not counting the sequel. Like if you take the sequel out, like she just suffers. She's mentally forever stuck in that cave, seeing those things, dealing with those things. Now like the saga of her daughter and husband dying is now worse because now there's this Juno was sleeping with her husband playing to it, and like it's pure madness. And like and granted, I really like Lovecraftian lore and like the way he set up his story and stuff, and like to me that was just almost a chef's kiss modern day Lovecraftian ending. I love it. I like that ending a lot better. And I think that ending, the way I see it, is bleaker than the other one because now she's stuck. Like she is mentally trapped in that cave until the day she dies.
Okay, cool.
No, it's a valid point.
Yeah, but it's also like your number one statement. I'm not arguing your statement. Everybody has a valid point for liking with it. This is not what I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying like one of your first moments was like, it's very Lovecraftian. So to you, it speaks that me, I couldn't give a shit about Lovecraftian. So like, I'm sorry. So like,
you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Also, like, I have a question, and because I could swear I read it. Was the U.S. like? Oh, never mind. The U.S. is just cut shorter, basically. Never mind.
When I look, when I kind of
I read that they had to change it. So basically, what I'm trying to say is everything that you like about it and the way it was filmed and all that and the way it was shot was still shot for that other ending. They just cut it for the U.S. because it wasn't tested. Like it didn't.
It was a producer call.
Yeah. So it wasn't shot for that. And everything they did was with the intention of ending it the way they did originally. That's all I'm saying. Like, and then they edited it by cutting it there, which is to me actually like, I like that they were able to, they barely changed it, but was able to change the ending. Like they barely changed it. They just edited it shorter and like.
And to Eli's point, and I think he's absolutely right. I would argue with any of the people who call the U.S. ending the happy ending. There is no happy ending to this movie. There is no she got away and her life will get put back together. There isn't. Neither one of them is a happy ending. They're just two very different looks at what is the cost of psychosis or going mad.
Or some would argue what's the cost of survival, which I think is when you really get into that, especially with these like type of survival-y type horror films, and sometimes like some of them will go into, some of them won't, but like a lot of people like they present it as, oh well, you survive, but there's a cost to surviving sometimes. And I think a lot of times they don't touch that.
I get that. I'm not sure though that this movie, when they edited it for people who couldn't hit, like I'm not sure this movie wanted you to think the way Eli is though, which is still traumatic and still depressing. I have a feeling they wanted people to see it as more, I'm sorry, maybe I won't use happy, but I think they wanted people to see it as a, she survived, she got out, she is going to repair her life. That's that's why I don't like the ending, because I think they edited it for people who couldn't handle a bleak ending and tried to make a happier ending. Whereas what Eli's presenting is very bleak and very sad. And I totally agree with that, with what he's saying. I don't think that was their intention. That's all. I don't think their intention on cutting it was to have you think about all that fucked up mental, what's going with that and her descent even further maybe into madness and never getting out. I think they wanted you to think she survived, and it's all, and I get the cut to Juno. Also, it's also a jump scare, but like, I don't know. That's just, so when I say I don't like that ending and I call it a happier ending, is because I think it was done by producers to make it a more satisfying palate like pleaser for
more commercial.
The general audience. Yeah. That's just what I think they did with it.
But isn't all film the spark to make you look deeper into the motivations?
You would think it is, but is it always when they like,
always.
I mean.
Even Babe teach you a lesson.
What?
Even Nope, John.
Yeah, even Nope.
Anyways, that's been a great episode.
So I do have, and this kind of leads into the next question I wanted to get into, which is, do you think this is intentionally a full-on, straight, allegorical story? Because we kind of joked about the descent being a representation of the descent into madness. So are these real people? Are these characters representations of one person's mental function. What do you think?
Oh, I don't think like that. I'm very literal. So I'm gonna say that this is but I get what you're saying. And when I say make the jokes about her descent into madness, like that I mean, because I think she goes completely insane by the end of it. Look at her face. But I also see this as just I mean, yeah. I get what you're saying, but
and I asked the question because this is a movie that I reviewed with Caitlin on Plug It Up podcast, and we kind of started to get into it. And every time I watch it now, I think more and more about it. And it's hard for me now not to look at it and say the way that these characters interrelate with each other is a shared conscious. Like they know things about one another that you wouldn't functionally know just in having an relationship with another person. Like they're personal things. Like when Sarah gets stuck in the push and oh shoot, who is it?
it's either Beth or Becca.
It's
Beth or Beth. Yeah, Beth.
Beth comes back to her and they have that like literal nose to nose. The worst thing that's ever going to happen to you has already happened.
Why wouldn't a friend say, I'm confused? Why do you read that differently than like
Well, there's a couple of reasons. First, if you see Sarah as ego is our conscious it's our personality. It's who we see. It's our self-consciousness. Juno is obviously id. I mean, she does only for herself all the time. And then Beth is superego. She is sort of the rules and laws of right and wrong and goodness and all those other kind of things. When Beth comes back to Sarah, she doesn't know that the worst thing that's ever happened to Sarah, or she wouldn't as a human being. I don't know that even if it was a close friend that I'd kind of grown
aren't
up
they all
with,
close friends? Isn't this a group of close friends?
No, Holly's not, and Sam's
not Holly. Holly's the apprentice of nothing.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, Holly is the lost juvenile. It's the person you were, or it's your self-image of who you were as a younger person.
Yeah, I don't watch the movie like this at all, so I don't know.
Yeah, see, I got a debate with a friend about this once, Dave, and because I argued because he brought that up that someone said it to him once, and he was like, I just don't see it. I'm like, no, I was like, that's actually a really valid point. I said, because you have all these aspects of almost of your conscious that stay with you and like they interact, and sometimes conscious doesn't get along, and one part of your conscious may not agree with the other part of your conscious, and this whole thing. I said, then you have the goblins, which are almost like these external factors that can manipulate and change your conscious or your mindset and how you do things. So I thought that like that's
the crawlers are just fear.
Yeah,
to me, the crawlers are just fear. And I'll make this is my argument, and I'll let the court decide. You all can discuss with me, but it becomes most clear to me once Juno wounds Sarah, id wounds superego, but doesn't kill her, assumes she's dead, because there's only one person that can kill Beth, and that's Sarah. Mm-hmm. Only the ego can make the conscious decision to kill Sarah. And the reason I say that is because obviously they have a moment where Beth asks for it and Sarah has to make the decision to kill her. Immediately from that moment further, Sarah is a completely different being. She's violent, she's feral, she's instinctive. And the first thing that attacks her, I don't know if you remember, the first thing that attacks her after she kills Beth is a child crawler. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that she has to deal with once she's made this decision that she's going to abandon who she was in order to survive her, whether you call it depression or the trauma of what's happened to her, she has to deal with the loss of a child. She has to deal with this child nightmare. And as soon as the child is dead, what is the next thing that attacks Sarah? It's the mother of the child. There's the only crawler that we see with hair is then the one comes over and sniffs the child, realizes it's dead, and then attacks Sarah, a terror that has to kill the mother. And then after she kills the mother, then she becomes this nonverbal, like primitive being that cares about nothing, doesn't care about who she hurts or what happens to anybody else. She's just going to survive at that point. She is no longer Sarah. She's sort of this cocoon of chaos that's going to go through.
I think to support your point, when like especially in the version where she gets out of the cave, the way I look at that is, I mean, a lot of like, if you look at like a lot like Freud and a lot of these guys he's caught like that really looked at that, your ego and your super ego and id and all that, like the balance was getting them all to work together. And if one overcame the other, or like you part of your conscious destroyed another part of conscious, like then you couldn't be whole, and that could drive you into madness. And she went the route she did to survive, and then now there's no coming back. Like she had to literally break herself to save herself, but did she really save herself?
Right.
Like you give me chills, Dave. Give me chills. I like this smarty pants talk from you.
What are your all's thoughts? I mean, I don't want it to just be me and Eli talking about it. Do you think that's valid? Does it read at all? Or is it, like you said, Jamie, maybe it's just not something that you're trying to
Yeah, it's not something I'm trying to, it's not something I don't, I know you guys make jokes of what I say, I'm too stupid, whatever, but that's not how I'm a very literal, that's not how I watch movies.
You're not looking for that in a movie, right?
That's not how I'm watching a movie at all. And I see everything you're saying, and I get it. Probably not unintentional, but I still am just watching it for the pure 6 women trap, trying to get it without all that underneath.
That's a good point. I would say that the way Dave
it all makes sense now
it,
that Dave, it totally makes sense.
Yeah,
I never saw that when I watched it, because I just don't watch like that critically like that.
It's like the nope layer, like the nope layer of level of stuff, and it's just like, hey, I mean, the cool thing about The Descent though is I think it works both ways, and they're at least
it's sound no matter how you
right, and I think that's why it's a success. So if you want to pull that extra stuff out, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Right.
But it still works. It works both ways. Me, I've never seen it that way, but I totally see your perspective. I just, and this is I don't know. This is probably not the nice way to look at it, but I honestly don't think the filmmakers are that smart. Just me.
I don't know, because I feel like a lot of like European, like if you look at like a lot of European horror, like there's always like a psychological component, I think, to it, and I think somewhat in some American horror films, but like I think you see that a lot, and I think
How many Italian horror movies have you seen, Eli?
Italian? Oh God,
all of them.
There's that I saw one. I can't remember the name of it. But there's that one about the haunted nun. All of Argento's. It's got a psychological component to it. Heavily psychological components to it. Like I just think that's the thing, because even like if you listen to like Simon Pegg talk about even like Shaun of the Dead, and like some of the psychology behind what that movie's about, like I think that's just a thing for them. And like I think like it's weird. You just don't see that. Like I mean, sometimes like American horror will come out and do that, but like you don't see it nearly as much.
Right.
I think that may be also the difference in looking at it.
Well, and the reason I bring it up is, like I said, it does color the way I enjoy this movie now, because now that's the way I'm listening to all the dialogue. And there's one scene, and for somebody who likes to be outdoors but is also a nerd, and you all know this, you've just seen me do this week, of where I want a plan, and I write out a 3-page synopsis of that plan to make sure that we're all clearly understand what we're doing. The hardest scene for me is the realization when Juno reveals they're not even in the cave that they've been planning for. That's a big friggin' deal. That is sociopathic at that point. But the conversation that the group has is an internal monologue kind of conversation. Like, you understand what you've done. You've killed us. Like, there's doomsday on one side, and then there's of course Juno's going to do that. That's who she is. Of course she thought it would be a fun adventure to put us all in harm's way. It's the kind of conversations I have in my own brain when I make a decision like that. And that tight little dialogue when they're going through the quote unquote flight plan, and this is we had contingencies with the Ranger's office of what would happen if we were missing for such and such a time. All of that's useless now. That's what my brain does when I have even a minor setback or a minor complication in my life.
Well, I didn't even say to support your kind of thought about that, Dave, is if you look up, a part of the movie is they find like marks left by a previous explorer who's like
Right.
marked the path, and they're like, oh, like if we follow that
It's
could
super
lead us the
primitive.
way out. And it's almost like, well, I was even thinking like it's almost like there are these tether points, like when everybody gets in like these stressful situations or like kind of emotional stress, you have things in your brain that kind of try to anchor and hold you down, like thoughts we all have. And then the kind of their descent in mass was at one point they all veer off that path, and those marks are nowhere there no more. Like they're all we are away from our tether points, and then now it's just pure madness trying
Whatever
to
it
find
takes,
a
yeah.
way out. That's a very
Yeah.
I got chills, Dave. Ooh.
Well, and that brings me back to the piton. You know, is the anchor that was left behind 100 years ago some generational or parental advice or something that was given that's this anchor that she didn't expect to need, that in this harrowing moment gives her exactly what she needs to cross this moment of danger. You know, it's there. It shouldn't be there. I don't know why it's there, but it holds just long enough to get her across and then breaks when Id tries to get across. Like I said, I'll drive myself crazy with this kind of stuff, but I find it interesting, and there's enough link points that it's hard for me to say that it's incidental. I think there is some intentionality behind it.
Which is why I go back to, this is a very Lovecraftian story. You proved my point. I think I win. I win the Wicked Wild. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I don't know where this scoreboard is, but we reference it an awful lot. The scoreboard for it.
Just me next to Big W.
All right. Any other thoughts or questions? Anything else anybody wants to cover? I mean, I think we all enjoyed it, no matter no matter what we're drawing from it. We all enjoyed it. But this is, and I can't remember if it was you, Eli, or if it was you, Jamie, that at the beginning kind of, or maybe it was John. It could have been any of you. Friggin', I don't remember at this point. Somebody at the top of the podcast asked or said that they went and looked up Neil Marshall, like what's he been doing lately.
John.
I did the exact same thing. John wins the big prize. Okay, John's ahead now, Eli. Mark it on your scoreboard.
Yay!
But I did the exact same thing. I went on IMDb. I'm like, this was so good. I should be seeing more of this guy. But I don't know if he couldn't pull it together. I think his follow-up thing was Doomsday, and even I remember that was hot garbage.
Yeah,
like it did not go over well. It was very, very British, and it did not play anywhere else on the planet. There was.
When you said British, I think you meant to do another word that starts with a B. Bad.
But anyway, that was his follow-up, and it was just a wreck. So I think he had a hard time recovering from that. I didn't know he had something else coming out, but it is surprising because this was a solid friggin' movie for the middle of the 2000s.
Yeah, he also, I want to say he did Hellboy.
That was
The
his other
second
one, the 2019
Or the
one.
new one. Oh, the worst
the
one?
new Hellboy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
That was his
Yep.
next opportunity. I think he's had some stinkers.
You know what I will say this about him, though? God bless him, because like I did not like the new Hellboy. I felt like they were kind of lost in what they were doing there. But like, God damn, his creature designs and the people he gets involved to do creature designs is on point. Because I know even in like the new Hellboy, I didn't like it, but like I thought like the Baba Yaga looked really good, and like
Yeah.
I thought even Hellboy looked good, and
Yeah, that whole scene with Baba Yaga was fantastic. That was the reason to see that movie.
yeah.
I would say he's probably had more success on TV because he did Game of Thrones. I'm sure a few of us heard of that. Constantine, he did a couple episodes of that. Did an episode of Hannibal, and then he's done an episode of Westworld. So, I mean, he's had minor successes, but it looks like he's back on movies.
He's trying again, and I do hope he succeeds because he's got some chops. I mean, if this movie, and even Doomsday for what it was, and I haven't seen it except for the one time in theaters, but even what I remember of that one, it was a beautiful movie. It just didn't make any sense. It didn't go anywhere, but it was.
Let me ask this. Do you think it's kind of like this, like a lot of directors that hit real big up front, they kind of hit this like weird slump, and some can crawl out of it and like some can't, but like I would argue M. Night Shyamalan went through the same thing.
Well, we just talked about another one that did that this summer that you all argued had his stinker. I disagree, but some of you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what?
Which one?
Oh, which one?
But yeah, Eli, I think and to that point and to that comparison, I mean, Jordan's first movie was a tight, small, little budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then they threw money at him, and sometimes money ruins a good storyteller.
Yeah.
because the expectation goes up with the budget. So
Yeah, because you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it's the money. Because like Shyamalan, like Sixth Sense was fantastic, kind of small, tight. I like Lady in the Water, small, tight. The Happening was poop. The Village, poop. I liked The Visit. I thought that was really good. Then Old was poop. I'm trying to think of his Avatar. His most expensive movie was the biggest pile of poop.
Unbreakable was fantastic. Though.
I loved Unbreakable. I loved Split.
Mm-hmm.
Did not like Glass.
It was terrible.
I think Split was the only other one by him that I actually
Split was great.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just The Sixth Sense. I don't think I've liked anything after that.
Oh, really?
It's like,
I
none
like
of,
The
not
Visit.
one. I can't stand The Visit. I like, not one of them has hit it for me after. It just sucks. Like, I've watched,
Science is good.
I think-
You don't like Science?
are you fucking kidding me? No.
Oh,
not
I
a
love
fan.
Signs. I love Signs. Signs is good too. Once again, you're like around one house the whole movie. Like some of these filmmakers, like they get once they expand out or like they make like there's nothing. I sometimes I feel like they think, okay, well I told this small story, now I have to make my story bigger. And I just think sometimes you don't have to.
Sure.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you don't need to make a big
No.
story.
Yeah,
But M. Night's so polarizing. I can totally understand Jamie's perspective. I mean, like M. Night is M. Night.
Right.
I mean,
Whatever. But this movie-
that's exactly what it is. Whatever.
yeah, I have nothing. Yeah, he is what he is, and that's it. Like, I don't. I've like long ago accepted what he's going to do and put out there, and whether I'm going to see it or not and enjoy it or not. And usually it's a not, no matter how many opportunities I give him. Yeah. I mean, to your point though about this movie, also coming back to this movie, when the small budget and whatever, and Dave, I know you're talking about the cave earlier. Like, I know John has a thing with we won't even go into it with the legs. And I mean, any body part that, but like mine is like, and mine is small spaces. And this movie might be one of the best I've ever seen to make you feel like you can't breathe while watching a movie. And like, I'm sure there's been some others that we've watched that I'm not even saying collectively together, but like this movie, when that scene, like, and I'll remember it, but like even today watching it again for the first time in a long time, I've forgotten like how long it is and how excruciating even them going through quickly is, because you see like how tight, like even when like they go through
There's
in the
nowhere to
beginning and
go,
everything's fine, I'm just like, it gives me like a panic attack sitting on my couch watching it. And I just like, it's just unbelievably claustrophobic and effective. And it's worse than any gore. It's like, I guess it's like worse for me than watching any kind of like,
because it's visceral.
gore. It's just like, I can't
We're
breathe.
agreeing again. Like,
I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm watching it. I can't breathe.
I am not claustrophobic, but like some of the camera shots in this movie and the angles that they filmed, like even I was like, get me out of here. Then I'm like, oh, you're watching the movie. You're not.
And then they hit like water. That makes it even worse. Like water with
it's like,
you know.
like this, you feel like the closeness of the people and like the tightness and the rocks and like some people playing this movie's dark in places, but like I love that because like it just, I'm in that cave and like the darkness is almost as suffocating as when they're in like the small tunnels, because like you don't know what's in there. Like I can't see what's in that darkness. I can't. Is that a wall?
No, agreed. I just also
Yeah.
couldn't watch the movie when things were happening because I did not know what was
Right.
happening.
Yeah,
I
and-
literally had to get up and shut all the lights, and then I could see it better. But it's like when I was first watching it, it's literally once the cave dwelling monsters come out, like it's about that moment when everything goes off, and I get it, but like I also could not see unless I shut all the lights off.
His name's Captain Caveman.
Oh, Captain Caveman comes, but he's the lead. I mean, there's other mini
his
cavemen, I
family.
guess.
They're goblins, bro. I'm telling you, they're goblins.
Well, a fun piece of trivia, you know that those are all, and I see your background, Eli, you know those are all based on Nosferatu himself.
They look
Which-
like that
yeah.
would make sense. Once
Well, my background's not Nosferatu. It's Peter.
that's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do in the shadow.
Which is 100% Nosferatu.
Wakey, wakey, Peter.
We're having flat meeting.
Poor
But
Peter.
but you know what though? Like, if you look at like the old tales of like Dracula, like he didn't look like Nosferatu. Like everything that like Nosferatu would describe as goblins, and like if you look at some old legends of goblins, like they drank children's blood.
Mm.
Like it's all connected, people. I'm telling you, this stuff is real.
So Campfire Tales, we know we're talking about goblins, I guess.
We are not. No.
No, well, what? Oh, all right.
Hey, we'll get to that, John.
He's
We'll
a
get to
fountain
that.
of knowledge. Sometimes
Yeah.
things splash out that have nothing to do with the main.
Oh no, this movie. Listen, we'll get there, John. You'll see. We'll get there.
So I just have a couple more questions. These are just fun, small ones, but I am very curious. Which of the characters in this movie would you be in this situation? If somebody talked you into going into a cave and having this experience, which of these characters would you be? I knew immediately when I thought about it.
None, because none of them are the one that can't even climb in because she has no upper arm strength or I would not even, I'm not even joking, guys. Like, I'm watching this movie and just thinking about, like, first I wanted to immediately go like how unrealistic this is. And then I was like, no, these are just all very physically fit women who do this a lot. Like, they obviously climb rocks on the weekend
This
and
is
they
their life,
because
yeah.
I personally could never even get into that cave. I guess I could propel down. But once it takes any kind of upper arm strength, like, oh my God, the fucking chick putting the hooks up by herself. I guess the other ones, they climb across. Yeah, I wouldn't even make it in. So tell me, which one's the weakest of them all? Because that's me. Like, physically, literally the weakest of them all. Because that's me. It's definitely not Juno. And it's definitely not Holly, who's so excited to follow in Juno's
The
footsteps.
beast, yes.
So it's whichever of the weakest of Becca, Beth, and Sam. I can't believe I even know their names.
Yeah, and the ceiling crossing that you just mentioned, I hadn't even thought about that, but I did make a note. That is so frustrating because even a novice climber knows that if you're climbing something, you're not going to monkey bar across a cave ceiling.
She's like just holding rocks. She's just like holding random rocks. And like,
why are your feet not hung in that same rock? Why are you hanging literally from one hand?
Well, what about those special things where they push up and then they like push
just
out
expand and they make like
I mean, that's not real.
So anyway,
they're real, but that's not the way you use them.
I'm the one that never even made it in because she didn't agree to go on this trip, and I don't mean out of like safety. Cause I don't mean out of smart, intelligent. Because I mean because like she literally couldn't even.
Jamie's the one still in the blazer when they leave.
I helped them plan it on the internet. I helped them look up some things and research.
What about you, Eli?
You know what? I'd probably be Sarah. I'm the main character because I am very like I'm that guy. I always have a plan. Like I like to consider myself rather intelligent. And like, but I
but not the one who read all the books. Like she was the planner, and like that might be me, maybe. I don't know.
Because like the reason I think I'm Sarah is like once you get me in a situation where I'm very uncomfortable, and I have no control, then you'll just like you'll see me because even like Mary sometimes like at times like when I've been in a situation that she'll like calm down because like my mind's going a million miles a second in a million different directions, and I'm literally trying to like. Almost like I'm Sherlock Holmes, even though like I'm not, but like I'm trying to plan out possibilities like what should we do, what should we do here, whatever. And like that's kind of how she was because once she got in there, she's like until she like went Rambo mode, she like you just tell she was just basically nervous wreck, just like kind of bouncing from place to place, and like I kind of relate to that because that I mean that's me in places where I'm not.
The chaos takes over.
Yeah, like Game of Thrones, one of the famous lines from Game of Thrones is "Chaos is a ladder," and I always say it is, and I would fall down every fucking bar.
John, what about you?
Well, when I think about what character Eli would be, I always think he would be Galadriel. That's just me. That's how I see him.
Oh, don't you try to flatter me now, John. Don't you try to flatter me now. Beautiful son of a bitch.
Oh, I just had to see what the
Galadriel.
reaction would be. Yeah, I mean, I would like to be Sam. Probably, she's like the most like level-headed character of this group. But I would probably be the whichever one's peeing their pants the whole time. Just don't make sure I'm not the compound fracture person because if I am, just murder me.
Just kill me now.
Just throw me down the pit.
Don't worry, that's Holly, and nobody's Holly. Really,
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Thank God, because I just want you to know, if I get a compound fracture, literally, I will make sure you have a bullet with one shot minimum, and you just take me out. I don't even want to survive.
Life's not worth living at
knows.
that point.
Right. Like, don't smash my face in with a rock. That's a little bit much, but like, I'll make sure there's a bullet in the gun.
What if I don't show you where the bone's coming out, and I'm like, listen, it's fine, just don't look at your leg.
Yeah, if you're not looking at it, like it seems like it's a very visual thing. So
like if I put like an empty Amazon box over the bone protruding from your skin, I'm like, just leave the box there, buddy. Okay, just leave it there.
It's one of those weird things. I just had this weird feeling, like I can feel like the wind just kind of like blow across it. Like I have like nerve endings inside my bone, and I can just imagine.
Well, that's why we'll put the Amazon box over it. Okay, you won't feel nothing.
I mean, you better bring the plushy hand turkey for that one, because there's no way.
Oh, you kiss your mother with that mouth? I can touch you with the plushy hand turkey.
I mean, somebody better distract me, because
oh, this is getting gross.
Forget that.
How dare you, sir? What about you, Dave? Who would you be? I don't want to hear his gross anymore. Talking about getting a plushy hand turkey.
Well, now that we know this about John, we're going to do that movie about the guy who cuts his arm off out in the desert. I think that's what we're going to do next.
Oh, why? No, you're the worst.
No, for me, it's pretty obvious, at least for me, that I'm the Rebecca that has all of the rule books.
She's the one that read it, right? That she memorized the map, which was smart.
Was spewing out facts through the hike and all that stuff. But as soon as things go sideways, kind of turns into an anxiety monster. Like doesn't have any answers, gets frustrated, gets very internalized.
That's me. Then I'm that form of Becca.
That's who I would. Because as long as I have a plan and am able to work the plan, and if people would friggin' follow the plan, then I'm good. As soon as things get off that plan, I'm a wreck until I can.
You should see me in Disney World when I'm trying.
You know what? I don't know, Dave, if you and I should ever be in apocalypse together, because I try like when they get like chaos, I try to ground myself in like my knowledge, but I always think I have to plan for worst case scenarios. You'd be like, oh, well, if we go through this water, I'm like, yes, but did you know the bubonic plague lives in liquids in caves still? Like, we shouldn't do the water. You'd be like, oh, well, no, but we can do this. This is rule number 34. I'm like, yes, but did you think about the fact we get our fingers stuck in there and we have to cut them off?
That's kind of Juno, though. On top of all her terribleibleness, like every time they had a suggestion, she like just shot it fucking down because she's smarter than everybody.
Yeah,
she's like,
Eli,
nope.
you're Juno.
No,
who is the Juno?
Listen,
if I be on the show, who is the Juno we know?
I'm shaped like a cupcake, can't be Juno. Secondly, if I think I'm Juno, I'm just gonna find the first naked goblin boy, present my neck, and go, take a bite, big boy. Just take a bite. End me now, because I'm Juno. End me now.
Do the world a favor.
Yeah, just do this whole gang a favor. Don't worry. Hey guys, I'm gonna let the goblin people eat me. You go ahead and escape. It's fine. Just I'm Juno.
My biggest pet peeve about Juno, and this is everybody's, and it's like the point, and it's not the cheating thing. It's like, why didn't she tell whatever people you're supposed to tell that they were going to a separate camp? Like, there's no logic behind that. None. People aren't going to crash your party. This isn't like I'm going to some exclusive club and I don't want people to come in while I'm there. Like, why did she not put in whatever you're supposed to put in? She kind
of says it because, like,
she doesn't say why she doesn't. Like the other girls all do.
She says because this is an
uncharted, unknown.
No, I know that, but even though it's uncharted and you want to be the first one, what I'm saying is if you put in the word to whatever guys, like they're not going to get there and stop you.
I think most places, like, they have to be there and they have to vet it out and stuff. Because I know, like, where I grew up, there's a lot of coal mines. So, like, people just couldn't go caving in any cave. They had to check to make sure they weren't old coal mine shafts that still went into the mine.
It's just like there's no logic behind that. At all, even for storytelling purposes, that she wouldn't, if she's a professional, which she seems like this is like her career, is being being like an adventurous, whatever she does.
And I will defend that in that character, in that personality type, that's not the way they think. They would think, if I tell the Rangers that we're going to this uncharted, unnamed cave system that I've found, then they'll take it from me.
She's just a selfish person.
Yeah,
she's a charlatan.
It's all about me. It's all about what I want to do and how I want to do it. And I'll be fine because I'm me. Nothing's going to happen to me.
I'm going to fuck your husband behind your back, even though we're best friends. Don't worry about it.
In the words of American poet Snoop Doggy Dogg, she is a hoe for show.
Wow.
And And on that point, any other thoughts or anything? I do have a couple of fun little trivia things I want to cover. But any other overall thoughts? Any
Yeah,
other
I have one thing, and
questions?
it's not
Sure.
I have one question, and it's not at all. I mean, it's related to this movie because I saw it in this movie, but it has to do with a lot of movies, and it's a pet peeve of mine. Why, when people wake up in a hospital, do they all feel like they can automatically just pull tubes and devices out of them that might be keeping them alive, no matter like the situation? Like, and I again, storytelling, and we needed to get to the point very quickly, and they did that very well. Like, she wakes up, we all that, she realizes, she has her breakdown, everything in the span of like a minute 30 seconds.
But she's yanking IVs out.
But it's like everything. Resident Evil comes to top of my head.
You
Like,
know what? I had
everything. They wake up and they just start yanking tubes and things out and don't care what might be keeping them alive.
I had a friend who worked at a hospital, and she said sometimes not all the time.
Disorienting, because I get that, but
It's not all the time thing, but a couple times like either that or like sometimes after surgery, like people wake up so disoriented and or especially if it happened, they were unconscious when they came in the hospital, that they're seeing this stuff and their
which she was, I assume. Yeah,
right, and their brain's like, well, that shouldn't be there, and so they're start like, whoa.
I get it. In movies, though, it's an intentional. I'm gonna walk right out of here, and like, and it just drives.
I'm fine with it. Yeah, it's a panic thing. Yeah. She wasn't missing a leg.
It's such a weird pet peeve that I don't think I realized I had till like today. I mean, like I have, but like I just like it came up today. Yeah, and I was just like, why the fuck do people do that? Like,
good thing she didn't slip in the hospital, fall, break her leg, and the bone stick out of the skin.
Listen, Eli. I mean, if you want to try and trigger me, that's a good shot. But it's not working out. We already know this play. But no, I'm with Jamie. It's like every single TV show, movie, somebody wakes in the hospital. It's literally the same thing. Tube yank, and it's probably because it just, I don't know. It's an inclination probably for all of us to do that. Like as soon as it's like, I gotta, like, I'm uncomfortable, I don't like this situation, I gotta get out of here. That's the only way. But it is kind of annoying because it's done over and over and over and over again. It
doesn't always make sense, but like to my mind, in this movie, that made sense because in her head, like there was the accident. She lost conscious, and when she woke up, her first thought was, well, I have to find my daughter and husband.
Right.
And she's
totally,
like,
I get that, and that's the way they wrote it. Yeah, I get it. It's just like a weird pet because it's just like, I was thinking that too. I'm like, but at the same time, she's so it goes both ways. She's so disoriented. Like, you don't know if this is keeping you. Like, I feel like I guess also because I'm not the type of women that are in this movie. I just start like pushing buttons or start yelling for my mom or a nurse. I'm like, what the.
You don't even know what the
That's
buttons
a normal
do.
reaction, though. That makes sense.
Pushing
Why
buttons.
don't they do that?
I just start yelling, Mom.
That's actually more heartbreaking. You think about it. Somebody shouting for their mother.
Yeah.
Like, that's heartbreaking.
That's real.
Yeah, that's like real. I mean.
Well, and that's one of the two scenes that, and I'll make the argument, and y'all can tell me if you agree or if I'm an idiot. That's one of the two scenes that made me realize that Beth is just as bad a friend as Juno is.
Beth.
Well,
Beth is the short brown hair. Why?
Beth
knows that he's cheating.
They all know.
It is on my list. Yes. Thank you, Eli. No, I have a point
all know.
that
It's
says
implied they all know. They're all bad friends.
Because they all have preternatural knowledge of the entire thing.
They all know that?
I wrote down how many of them knew about this. Literally, what the fuck? Because I'm just going to say, and I get what Dave's saying, but let's watch it from my angle for 1 second, because now that makes sense for Dave's point. But I have a very close group of friends that are 6 girls, 6 of us. And that's how I watched this movie. Granted, I get it. Holly's not. But I have 6 close friends. We've known each other since high school, some before. That shit goes down. There is no way that 5 of us are fucking agreeing.
Yeah, you go scorched earth if you found out they didn't tell you.
That one friend is excommunicated. Like, I can't even like I can't even
Mentally
imagine that happening in my group of friends. And it's just like that happening in this movie just sent me on like a spiral of how shitty these people are. And thank you for reminding me about Beth, because she's the one who says it's Paul's or whatever.
Exactly.
And knows. I just like fucking lost it because I was like, how many? And that's what I wrote down. Like, how many of these fucking friends know?
And the entire time, what she's doing is trying to get Sarah to get over it without telling her she knows, or being a friend and telling her what happened. She's just trying to drag her through this trauma. So, yeah, I think Beth is just as bad as Juno is. Or should I say Super Ego is just as dangerous as it is.
It's funny. This topic actually reminded me of like a moment I had. It's like the 100th time I watched this movie. But like when she said, when Juno said we all lost something in that crash, it's like,
Oh
what the-
God.
That's when you punch
I'm
her in the
like,
face.
Yes,
yeah,
I
just wanted to
hate that line.
strangle
Yeah.
her. So I'm like, what? No.
Yeah, that's
No,
when I
we
squeeze your
didn't.
neck shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I almost thought it was like a personality thing, because there's aspects, like, even if you don't want to go as deep as like subconscious, conscious, but like to me, I always looked at them as personalities of the same person. Like when you brought that up, and like there's aspects of your personality that other parts of your personality are afraid of, right? Like, so if you're somebody that has anger issues, like you're like, oh, I don't want to get angry, I kind of like that. But then when you're angry, like it's
I
self-righteous
hate myself when I'm
indignation,
angry.
right? And like and it's almost like you kind of get the impression that some of them are because they're afraid of Juno. Or some of them like, well, I like Juno. I still like Juno. I like Sarah too. So like, I don't want to break the dynamic. Like, it's kind of like weird because like that one scene where like they're kind of like they all kind of give this like Noone look, like we all know. And I'm like, you bitches.
Like, why would you do that to a friend? That's so bad.
It's
Well, and
terrible.
that's-
That whole plot is terrible. It's terrible.
So I mean,
And
now
that
I'm
leads me
thinking
to my
about it,
argument, or it's point of
Yeah.
my argument that
is this
But
is
it,
this
it
the
feeds
problem?
both ways. It feeds
Right, oh, yeah, it
storytelling
works
and
both ways, which is
catalysts
what
for
makes it
like
fantastic.
everything that ends up happening, and her leaving for dead, which I know we touched upon it, but let's be, I mean, like Sarah leaves Juno for fucking
Right.
dead, or as
She
bait.
drops her as bait. Yeah,
As bait. Yeah, she leaves her as bait.
to be bait.
So like again, I also think she's already hit a point of no man, like you guys are saying, she's blind rage at that point. She's just survival instincts and whatever at that point. It's not even so much, oh, you slept with my husband, as
Right.
much as it's just
it's
like,
me or you, so it's going to be me.
yeah.
Which then I think also goes and supports Dave's theory, because sometimes when you are going through something or like a traumatic event, sometimes you sacrifice parts of yourself to get through them. Like this, oh my God, I love this movie so much. There's just so much here. You know what? They're like, I can't. If Nope would have been like this, I would have loved Nope.
A tighter, smaller
But it
story.
wasn't.
Well, just
It
like
wasn't.
everything is just so woven in, and like everything is just so woven and connected in, and like from the very basic layer of this film to like as deep as you want to go with your brain, like everything is just woven so nicely.
Yeah, it's exactly what, like you just said, it's exactly what I wanted from Nope. Because at least I have my level of 6 chicks in a cave that can't get out, and monsters.
And cool creature, yeah.
And then you can go deeper and deeper.
And they didn't turn into butterflies at the end of this one.
balloon kites, Dave. Hot air balloons. I don't even
And
know.
you know what? The monster was a monster.
Anyway, we're not going to relitigate. No, shut that down.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that movie again. But
So I do have a couple of pieces of trivia that I wanted to cover. The first thing that really surprised me is they were never, except for in the repelling base shot, they were never in a cave. This was all constructed cave, which blew me away.
what?
Wow.
This was all in
Wow.
Pinewood
Nothing,
Studios.
not even like a scene, like
Never
just to get
shot anything
besides
in a cave.
repelling, like you said, whatever.
Yeah.
When they were
Yeah, just
Wow.
the
Did you
establishing
and I
shots.
have this conversation? Because I can't believe I could have swore that Jamie knew this, because I remember
I did
and
not know
talked
this.
about
It
No, I
blew
did
my
not.
mind.
Yeah, no, it blew,
Eli, did you know?
Yeah, because I remember
okay.
in the Fangoria article.
Oh, okay,
they
yeah.
had pictures of like the set, and it kind
The
of
set, okay.
Because like when I first saw it, like it almost looks like a high school theater castle wall. Like, a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like a puzzle. It's it's
Yeah.
modular pieces that they would put together in different ways to create different chambers. But whoever did the stonework on that,
Fantastic.
I was sold. And like I said, I grew up in these things. But the way they lit it, the way that it just worked, and I was really
or
surprised.
didn't light it.
Exactly, or lit it the correct way so that there wasn't some magic heaven light.
We also didn't talk, and I'm not getting to, but we didn't even talk about how like this movie does the thing of like fucking scenes through night vision, which sometimes I can't stand,
Yeah.
but I'll let it go in this movie because I like this movie so much.
It's a
But,
great
and
jump
I also
scare,
don't
this
know
one.
if it was, and I also don't know if it was like overused after this movie. I know this movie isn't like super old, but I'm just saying like I don't know what
I would
place
say
and
bef-
time this movie has with the night
This
vision
would be
thing. So, like,
after, because I think that night vision
Okay.
stuff got real big with oh shit, I just had the name of the movie in my head. That one where it was a Mexican horror film, Wreck. I think that
I
became a
love
big
Wreck
thing
though.
after
I
Wreck.
love Wreck. Wreck is
Never
the
seen it.
best. Wreck's my
What?
favorite found footage.
Yeah,
John,
never
it's the
seen
best found footage movie.
So good. Wait, let me ask this.
Well,
Do
can
you
we
like?
throw it on the list?
Sure. Well, let me ask
It's
this.
not. I mean,
Do you
well,
prefer the
So, no.
Spanish version, which I think is much?
Me?
I don't like the American
Oh,
version.
Quarantine is terrible.
Quarantine's awful.
That's the American.
Rec,
Rec is fantastic. Quarantine is
also
terrible.
because Rec's religious aspect, but it's
Oh,
done very
boy.
well. Because they're like demons. Like it's done super. Well, chef's kiss very well.
You also don't have to enjoy it on that level, John, because
I
I
was
didn't
gonna say,
get
I'm
that. I didn't get
smelling
that
milk
level.
again.
No.
Oh, they show you
only
the
know.
books. They show you the books.
John, just Rec is. I'm not a found footage fan. Rec is my favorite. Is like probably
Right.
one
Oh,
of my favorite found footage movies.
It doesn't really have shaky cam, which is nice.
That's
Like,
I think the thing, and they find a reasonable. It's always one of the ones I use an example of like for a movie, like it's reasonable why they're recording. Even the second one, I think, or is it the first one where they have it on the cops or on like the firemen and on
that's
the
the
cop?
first one. Yeah.
Okay, it's just like a reasonable reason to a degree why they're filming more than like I'm just gonna keep this on. I mean, of course they do, but like
Right.
you know, more than I'm just gonna keep this on while I'm running just to.
Because that's what you do.
Because that's it. Okay. Anyway, sorry, not to go on a wreck tangent, but yeah, it is a great movie, and Quarantine is pure shit.
Oh, it's the worst. I that actress in it.
She's from Dexter.
Yeah, she's the
Dexter's
worst
sister.
part of Dexter.
Deb.
Jennifer Carpenter.
Deb, yeah.
She's Jennifer Carpenter. You mean Jennifer the Worstender? The only movie
Wow.
the only
Wow,
movie
Eli.
I like her in.
She's a person with feelings.
Well,
you know?
she shouldn't have feelings. The only movie I like her in
Wow.
is The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and that's because she's not
Oh, see, I
Jennifer
don't.
Carpenter for most of the movie.
She's.
That's the
I'm
reason
sorry,
like her.
I took us on this tangent with the black light, with the the night vision.
The world
thing.
needs
Let's
to know
go back.
about my
Let's go-
hatred of Jennifer Carpenter. Jamie,
Yes,
you did the
it
correct
does.
thing. You
It
did the
does.
right
But-
thing here.
Let's-
I thought it was funny on Twitter, our buddy Joe making a reference to our conversation on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I was like, look, dude, our passions run really close to the surface. That's who we are as a people.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
see that. What was his comment?
What-
He
yeah,
was
what
just
did he
making
say?
all of our hatred for the
The
second
second.
one was unwarranted.
Oh,
I'm like,
no,
dude,
he's unwarranted. Okay, he's unwarranted.
Joe Ferry,
Wow.
we still love you, man. But yes, our passions run
That's
hot.
questionable.
and-
That's questionable.
Joe Ferry's my boy, and his love for Italian horror movies does not align with my love for like good movies. So, but other than that, I mean,
I don't know. You didn't like the
The
Blair
man.
Witch.
He's
So,
got-
do you really know anything about good movies?
Ooh.
well,
Shots fired.
Well,
Woo, 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 woo.
well, this is where we retract our opinions on Galadriel. Sorry,
How
Eli.
dare you? How dare you? You can't take it
You were-
back.
You are now Christopher Lee forever.
Oh, I'm
And
fine.
I'm
with
not
that.
talking about.
Oh my
I'm
god.
not talking about
Starman?
the good Christopher Lee. I'm talking about the Star Wars.
Oh my god! Oh my
Oh,
god!
you
Dave,
son of a
please give
bitch.
us another
Yeah.
fact, please.
I've just got one more, and then we'll move into our rating system. But this was something we had to talk about. Did you all know that Mark Barrow was a violinist in the soundtrack for The Descent?
Who?
Mark Barrow. He was one of the violinists who set in on the orchestra. If that name doesn't sound familiar, just know that he was also a violinist on the soundtrack for Antlers.
You know
That's
what?
what I was gonna
You know
guess.
what?
But like, I
I'm
didn't.
gonna sit here. This is the
Got
second.
him.
Listen. This is the
Got
second
him.
time you've done fun facts, you son of a bitch. And the first time you snuck in a goddamn antler fact, and I almost said, when you said I have some fun facts, I almost said, I'm
It's
telling
been
you right now,
wait.
Dave.
It's been more than that, Eli. He's managed to find at least 3 or 4
Whatever.
movies
But
that have
a
been.
few times, and like you do it every time, and you when you
I
said
love
fun
it.
facts, I
Oh.
almost said,
I-
Dave, if there's an antler one, I'm gonna be pissed. And like, but I was like, you know what? Surely he would have done that. And you son of a
Oh
bitch.
man,
You know what?
Dave. Next time, feel free to
Oh.
feed me one of those facts, and we can do the alley oop.
I will burn this down to the ground.
Hey, Eli. It's beginning to look a
You're
lot
the worst. Just the absolute worst.
Christmas
Just the absolute worst.
everywhere.
Oh my god. You know what?
Antlers was such a movie. You know,
Antlers
it
was
was
the,
just
oh my
like-
god, that is
it was
my
a movie.
listen. You want to know what my
It wasn't
version of
per-
hell is? Putting me in a room and forcing me to watch that piece of shit over and over again.
Yeah,
I pretty much remember the box review that Antlers paid on Wicked
Never
Wild.
been so
They go,
angry in my
"We
life.
They said, "Can we get the quote from John and Jamie to put on our promotional box?" Right? Yeah, you got it. It was literally like, yeah, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
I don't even know if I'd call it that.
Exactly what it is.
Liquid
That's
feces
literally
on
what it was.
screen.
All right, since I've hurt him, we will let Eli start us off on our
man.
rating for The Descent. As you know, at this point, we've got our Blaze Code rating: blue blaze, green blaze, pink blaze, yellow blaze, brown blaze, or the movie's just Trail Family. Eli, first. Sorry, not sorry.
I can't even look at you right now.
Sorry, not sorry.
I'm so disgusted with you right now. So disgusted with you. Oh God. Anyways, I'm gonna show this movie respect it deserves, unlike that turd antler. No, this movie, I'd say Trail Family. I love this movie. This is if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. Go on that little.
What are you doing listening to this show?
This is a really good. This is a really good. Like, hey, it's the fall. It's Friday night. It's dark out early.
Christmas is coming.
I will throw a birthday through. I make some popcorn, maybe some hot cocoa. You know, that's how I do. And just put on this little ditty. You know, it's really good. I can't believe you. I'm so disgusted by you right now.
John, what about you?
I love the fact that you really got him this time. Like,
I think that one was first time legitimately he believed me.
That was super sweet.
Listen, Dave, listen, Dave. I don't ever get real angry. I just get even. I want you to remember those words. Just remember, because a moment will come.
I don't know. I've heard you get real angry too.
Will come when you look in my eyes, and you will know the debt is paid.
Wow. Okay. So, hey, Dave, I don't mean to ruin your day, but it sounds like you don't have a seat at the Mole Kingdom table.
Hey, John. Also, a day will come when you will look in my eyes and you will know the debt is paid.
John, yours and mine's goal, and Jamie's welcome to
Eli.
join us. Our goal is to be
Christmas
burned
is the worst, right?
Hey, Jamie, you know what? What's that? What is it? What do I hear? Oh, my little mole's saying they're building a new chair. Little moles are building a new chair. What's that?
This is the first time. It's only taken what episode are we on?
Sounds like the moles are building a new chair.
I just can't wait to be burned in effigy in the Mole Kingdom.
We burn you outside with trash.
I'm pretty sure Peter's going to be calling Eli after this episode for
Why?
enslaving animals.
It's not slave. We work in partnership, bro. How dare you?
How
dare you? How dare you minimize the Mole Kingdom?
Well, unlike Eli's Mole Kingdom, I would say this is a family trail type movie. This is a good time, man. You just bring them in, take them for the ride. But we're equal in this family. We don't enslave our family members.
They get paid?
In what? Dirt?
No, they all live in mole mansions.
They get paid in birdseed corn cobs.
Listen.
And they eat like moles, but
listen, you laugh. I have done my research. Okay, people remember doing similar projects when they were kids. So,
and it's funny, we're just now bringing this up, but this whole movie took place underground in these like quote unquote goblin people. They look an awful lot like what a mole might look like in human form. Just saying.
Have you ever seen a mole?
Oh my God, guys!
You need to go to a zoo. Educate yourself.
What's your rating for The Descent? We'll step right in the middle of this.
Yeah, that's fine. I was thinking about this a lot. I went back and forth between, I immediately was going to say Trail Family, and then I was going to say like your Blue Blaze, right? Because isn't that like a fun, but it's not fun. and I'm taking it very literal, I know. But at the same time, I'm like, it deserves more than that because, you know, like Eli said, it's a good fucking movie. Like I don't say that often, but it's tight and it's probably not very long. I had to pause it a bunch of times when I was watching it today. And it's a good horror movie. It's effective in almost everything it pulls off, and that includes jump scares. That includes the night vision. That includes like, regardless of the ending that you prefer, the gore. I like it's very well executed. So I'm going to make this a Trail Family as well because I think this movie, there's a reason I bought it back in the day, and it's not just that Best Buy used to do DVDs for like $3 and you just pick them all up and buy them all, because that's probably how I ended up with it. It was because I thoroughly thought this was a movie worth owning back when DVDs were relevant. Now, unfortunately, they are not, and you could basically own anything, but
well, when the Mole Kingdom comes, those DVDs will come in handy.
This is something I needed in my collection.
There's no internet in the apocalypse.
Exactly.
We have an extensive DVD and Blu-ray library. One of the perks of being part of the Mole Kingdom.
His Blu-ray library is second to none.
Listen, we have a whole building in the Mole Kingdom just for Blu-rays.
I don't have this on Blu-ray. I have it on DVD. I contribute that because that's all I have.
We have Blu-rays, DVDs, VHSs. You know, whatever.
Like I said, with the trailer for Saw 3, just in case anybody wanted to know how old.
That's a time capsule.
Listen, we're gonna hold all of the intellectual properties that's left over by humanity. We're gonna keep those things going in the Mole Kingdom.
Well, for me, this was For me, this was one that was a pink blaze for a long time. It was something that I just really dug. I dug what was going on with the movie. I dug kind of what they were doing with the characters and the performances and the creature design. But the more I've watched it, this is 100% Trail Family. This one gets to go ride or die with me. It's one of those that I will watch on repeat, especially since I've sort of, at least for myself, constructed this other examination that really is intriguing and compelling for me. So this is Trail Family for me at this point. So for those keeping score at home, that is 4 for 4, first time in a long time that we are all over the love for this movie. I think it's been a while since we had one of those.
It might only be our second.
Jaws.
Yeah.
Jaws, I think, is the only other one that everybody loved because now we
Well,
have a
the
different rating
thing-
system. Like,
But you weren't on that one.
I
Jamie.
wasn't
But I
on
know-
that one.
But you would have loved it.
No.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, well, we're not even going back.
Hey,
The thing
not to interrupt
is
you, Jamie,
a
hold on a
fuck for
second.
me. Sorry,
Cancel
guys.
that chair. Take that chair away. Cancel that chair. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Jamie? I'm sorry. More people were talking. Sorry about
No, it wouldn't have been a 5 for 5, whatever it was at the time,
Wow.
4 for 5.
I
It's
mean,
just not. It's
everything
just not
could
one
be
of my favorite movies of all time. It's just not.
Not everything could be
It's
antler.
fine.
Sorry.
that. Debt will be paid.
Not everything can be Jaws.
debt
Jaws is the only other one that we.
will be paid.
Oh,
So
yeah,
this
Jaws.
this is up there with Jaws then.
Apparently,
There you go.
This is
I
like
would have never
dirt
said that
Jaws
going into
or
this.
cave
but sure.
Jaws. This is
It's-
cave Jaws.
I like to
How
see
about
where we
cool
all
Jaws?
align.
Yeah, so if you are listening, that is the first 4 for 4 we've had in a while. So that means immediately stop what you're doing, quit your job, and go buy the DVD. Don't watch it. Don't rent it online and stream it. Purchase hard media.
I would go Blu-ray. I
Okay.
don't think you can buy DVDs anymore. Go Blu-ray.
Yeah, and if you could, you probably couldn't find a player to play them on.
Yeah, just Blu-ray.
So thank you all for listening. We've had a good time talking about The Descent. We're all kind of punch drunk at this point. We do appreciate your time and your listening and your downloads. And then obviously, Eli, tell us, give us a little teaser on what we're going to be talking about to
Listen.
follow this one up on Campfire Tales.
Oh man, I went deep into the Mold Kingdom archive, and I found just a piece of legend that covers people who look like ghouls, a cave, eating people, and putting a dash of incest. We're talking about the legend of Sawney Bean.
Dash of
Yep.
incest.
A dash
What?
of incest. Talking about the legend of Sawney Bean.
Oh, say the word again.
The gentleman's name was
Oh, it's a person's
Sawney
name.
Bean.
Okay.
Wells, right?
Huh?
Isn't it Welsh? Isn't it a Wells story?
Scottish.
Scottish, okay.
Yep,
Mm,
a gentleman
okay,
who
okay.
came from Scotland back in the 16th century, and like I said, people look like ghouls, lived in a cave, ate people, dash of incest. What more could you want from a beautiful little tale? I can't think of anything.
What could possibly go wrong? So you have that to look forward to coming up next week on our Campfire Tales. And then obviously if you want to follow us or interact with us, you can follow us on Twitter at Wicked Wild We Are. Give us your comments, answer. We've always throw some stuff out there to give you some information or to ask some questions and get some feedback from you. You can also subscribe and rate the podcast on whatever your favorite podcasting platform is. If you want to learn more about us or the programming or see any of our reviews, you can go to thewickedwild.com and check that stuff out. And then if you have any questions or thoughts or any recommendations for movies that you think would be right up our alley, we'd love to have those. Or if you want us to give you a shout out or answer any information you might need on movie recommendations from us, you can send us at our email, which is podcast@thewickedwild.com. Anything else?
You need to buy that merch, kid.
Get the gear. Get the gear. Anything else? All right. Well, as we always say when we close up shop, you better watch out.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
You better not
The
cry.
debt will be paid. Listen, this is record. The debt will be paid.
I actually like all of a sudden my heart sank. I was like, oh my god, Dave changed it and I didn't read something. Like, what the-
I love this. Dave, do
Debt
not leave us hanging.
will
Finish it out.
be paid.
What we actually say is we recommend that you get out there and you get yourself what? Lost. Why, Eli?
Because the debt will be paid.
No, because then you
only
can find
place.
Santa Claus and get them presents, son.
You need to get lost every once in a while in your life because it may be the only place you can find yourself. Good night, everybody. Merry Christmas.
The debt will be paid, you son of a bitch. The debt will be paid.